Everyone turned. Chloe's eyes darted like a cornered cat. Okay, I might have accidentally watched one episode while trying to find that nacho recipe video. I gasped. You cheated on the treaty? Zuri stood dramatically. You spoiler hypocrite. Xylo's shoulder fins twitched. We trusted you. Chloe stood up, holding the remote like a white flag. All right, I confess. But in my defense, the cliffhanger was too much. I needed closure. Or cheese. The notary drone hovered silently, then played a disappointed sigh sound effect. Penalty phase initiated. A screen popped up showing a forced group viewing of Galactic Housewives, the musical special, with no skip or fast forward allowed. Chloe groaned. Ugh, fine, I'll suffer. But I want nachos. As the theme music began, complete with singing, space moms, and dramatic laser tap dancing, I leaned back and whispered to Xylo, maybe the real sacred ritual isn't just about what we watch, he smiled, but who we judge the characters with. I nodded. Exactly. And with that, we resumed the show, treaty intact, barely, hearts full, and one digital betrayal wiser. After surviving the penalty screening of Galactic Housewives, the musical special, which featured a surprise duet between the space villain and her genetically engineered house pet, I thought we had finally reached a new era of streaming harmony. The treaty was signed, the boundaries were clear, and Chloe had begrudgingly accepted her temporary spoiler ban. But as fate would have it, peace is a fragile thing, especially when one of your streaming sins is still hiding in plain sight. It began innocently enough. Xylo and I were making dinner. He was delicately arranging alien sea vegetables in concentric, star-shaped patterns, and I was pretending to understand the settings on our new intergalactic stovetop. I had connected my phone to the kitchen speaker and was playing one of my Jess-only playlists. Lo-fi chill for mild emotional breakdowns. As soon as the opening notes of Echoes of a Lonely Moon came on, Xylo froze mid-sauce drizzle. He blinked. Wait, I know this. I smiled. Yeah, you've probably heard me play it before. It's one of my personal sad girl jams. He shook his head slowly. No, I've heard Zuri play this. Last week, in her hoverpod. She said it was from her Spotify Connect Earth account. I thought she meant her own. I frowned. Wait, her Spotify Connect Earth account? That doesn't exist unless... I dropped the spoon. Unless she's been using mine. Xylo stared at me, his eyes shifting into shades of shocked indigo. Jess, he said slowly, have you been sharing your Spotify password? I froze. My brain immediately played a slideshow of all the times Zuri had complimented my playlists. All the times she had suspiciously specific opinions about artists she shouldn't have known. And the one time she casually hummed Sad Human Walking Home at Night, my 3 a.m. anthem, while brushing her glittery teeth in our guest bathroom. I raised both hands. Okay, in my defense, she asked once, 6 months ago during a thunderstorm. I panicked. She said music was essential to regulate her tail twitching. It felt like a medical emergency. Xylo's jaw dropped. That was before we even signed the Netflix treaty. But it still counts, he said, hurt coloring his expression. Jess, you cheated first. Chloe, who had just wandered into the kitchen uninvited with a bag of popcorn and zero shame, dropped her snack dramatically. Plot twist. I turned to her, panic rising. Chloe, you're not helping. She pointed at me, mock horror in her voice. You did the thing you swore to destroy. You're a streaming hypocrite. Zuri floated in from the hallway at that exact moment, holding her tablet. Hey, did someone change the playlist name from Cosmic Vibes to Zuri Get Off My Account? Because that's super passive-aggressive. I turned to her speechless. You knew? Zuri blinked innocently. Well, I figured if you didn't want me to use it, you'd revoke my access. I assumed silence meant consent. Chloe gasped. Classic cheater logic. Xylo looked at me, his eyes a complex swirl of heartbreak and techno-pastel confusion. Jess, you were mad at me for sharing Netflix, but you were already Spotify sharing with Zuri? I opened my mouth, then closed it again. It didn't feel the same. He raised an eyebrow. So it's okay when you do it? I sighed. Number, yes, it was wrong, but I didn't realize how much it mattered until now. Zuri held up her tablet. Well, for what it's worth, I deleted the account already, and I got my own. And I made a playlist called Songs Jess Won't Let Me Hear. It's mostly Enya and angry violin solos. Chloe leaned against the fridge. Wow, the emotional damage. I looked at Xylo, guilt thick in my chest. I'm sorry, I really am. I didn't understand. I thought I was the betrayed one, but turns out I was the betrayer too. Xylo walked toward me slowly. You broke the sacred bond of curated playlists. I laughed weakly. Can we call it even? Netflix for Spotify? He paused. Only if I get to skip your sad girl playlist for 1 week. Deal. We shook on it. Chloe raised her bag of popcorn. To double standards and double logins. We all groaned. Later that night, as we lay on the couch, heads close, music softly playing, this time from a freshly reset 2-person-only account, I whispered, "You still love me, even if I'm a streaming sinner?" Xylo smiled. Of course. I just hope you never find out I once used your Duolingo account to learn flirtation phrases in 6 languages. I sat up. Wait, what? He winked. Sleep well, my pineapple of passion. And just like that, the score was officially even. But something told me we weren't quite done unraveling our media-based marital secrets just yet. The following week, just when I thought our household had recovered from the Spotify scandal of the century, we received a glowing envelope. Literally glowing. It floated down through our ceiling one morning during breakfast, landing softly in Xylo's cereal like it had rehearsed the timing with a Broadway choreographer. He stared at the envelope. Uh-oh, I leaned over. Please don't say uh-oh before coffee. He lifted the envelope and squinted at the shimmering runes along its edge. It's a summons. I blinked. A what? He turned the envelope toward me, and as the letters shimmered and reshaped into English, I read it out loud. By order of the Galactic Council of Digital Boundaries and Platform Trust, you are hereby summoned to appear in court for unresolved mutual betrayal of streaming vows. I blinked again. There's a streaming court? Xylo winced. Galactic law is very serious about digital trust. I stared at him. You filed a council complaint? He looked sheepish. I may have mentioned our situation in a Zaraloxian support forum. I didn't know it would trigger a formal process. Chloe popped her head in through the window, because of course she was listening from outside again, and shouted, Wait, we're going to court? I'm coming. I have outfits. 2 days later, we were standing inside what looked like the love child of a courtroom, an intergalactic library, and a karaoke bar. The Galactic Court of Digital Boundaries floated in low orbit above the Pacific, disguised to Earth satellites as a rogue weather balloon. Inside, crystal pillars glowed with soft neon colors. Every seat was made of memory foam, infused with cinnamon scent, and the gavel was shaped like a USB-C plug. The judge, a spherical being with a monocle made of light and 7 voices speaking in sync, floated into view and bellowed, Court is now in session. Case number 972-B, Jess of Earth versus Xylo of Zaralox, mutual account trespassing and emotional playlist entanglement. Zuri was in the gallery section, holding up a foam finger that said Team Nobody and snacking on interstellar cotton candy. Chloe sat next to her with her phone out, live blogging the whole thing under the hashtag Galactic Divorce Court Maybe. The prosecutor was an AI named Jurisdiction, who projected charts showing our streaming overlaps, time-stamped betrayals, and even a clip of me humming along to Zuri's favorite lo-fi track 3 weeks ago. I died a little inside. Xylo and I took the stand. The judge looked at me first. Jess of Earth, do you admit to emotional negligence of the Spotify code? I raised a hand solemnly. I do, but it was pre-vow, technically pre-treaty, pre-emotional clarification. It wasn't intentional betrayal. It was cultural ignorance. And rain. The judge nodded thoughtfully. Noted, rain is legally classified as emotional turbulence in 7 systems. Then they turned to Xylo. Xylo of Zaralox, you shared Netflix with an unapproved third party. Was this done with knowledge of its Earth implications? Xylo shook his head. At the time, I thought it was romantic. In Zaraloxian culture, Giving someone your password is like writing poetry with your eyes closed. The courtroom murmured in mild confusion and delight. The judge turned to the gallery. Zuri of Zeta Reticuli, do you wish to testify? Zuri stood up, her cape now covered in sparkles that spelled team plot twist. I just want to say, I regret nothing, except maybe that musical episode. Chloe shouted, Objection! That episode was iconic. The judge clanged the USB gavel. Order! We will now proceed to closing statements. Xylo stood and turned toward me, glowing faintly green. Jess, I love you. I didn't understand Earth norms, but I do now. I should have asked. I should have protected our shared digital space. I took a breath, standing up slowly. And I should have realized that in your culture, sharing isn't just careless, it's meaningful. I'm sorry I dismissed that, and I'm sorry for the playlists. The judge hummed, considering everything. Then they raised their six-gloved appendage. After reviewing all evidence, this court declares, mutual misunderstanding. No punitive streaming bans will be applied. Instead, we recommend a joint session with a level 5 bond counselor and a ceremonial co-creation of a new streaming playlist. Built together. Applause. From everyone. Zuri wiped a single glitter tear from her cheek. They really grew as a couple. Chloe sniffled. I wanted drama, but now I want therapy. Xylo looked at me and smiled. We did it. We survived intergalactic court. I grinned. We need shirts that say that. As we left the floating courthouse hand in hand, the sun set behind the Earth's horizon. The notary drone hovered nearby and whispered, Would you like to name your new playlist? We looked at each other, then said in unison, Trust Fall. And with that, a new chapter began. Not just of streaming, or trust, or platforms, but of learning how to build something sacred, one shared password at a time. We came home from the Galactic court feeling oddly giddy. Maybe it was the relief of not being sentenced to mandatory buffering delays, or the soft cinnamon scent from the courtroom chairs still clinging to our clothes. But something had shifted between us. It was like we'd made it through some bizarre marital obstacle course, complete with floating judges, playlist subpoenas, and emotional testimony. And we'd come out stronger, weirder, but stronger. That night, instead of our usual habit of flopping onto the couch and arguing about what to rewatch, Xylo lit candles. Real ones. Earth candles. Vanilla scented from that store Chloe calls bougie but blessed. He'd even spelled out TRUSTFALL in tiny sticky notes on the fridge. Each note a different streaming icon with little hearts drawn next to them. I blinked. Okay, what's happening? Xylo smiled. Wide, sheepish, excited. We're going to make a playlist. I blinked again. Now? He nodded. Together. From scratch. A shared playlist. Equal picks. No veto power. Total balance. One Earth song. One Xeraloxian sound stream. One shared memory at a time. I set my bag down slowly, as if I might break the moment. You want to make the ultimate compromise mixtape? He looked proud. It's a sacred bonding practice on my planet, usually followed by synchronized noodle crafting, but I figured we'd start small. So we sat down side by side and opened a blank playlist titled Trust Fall. I picked first, Moonlight Drive by the Electric Bloomers, my go-to late-night drive song. Xylo nodded, then added a looping Xeraloxian tone poem made entirely of harmonic breath clicks and meteor bell chimes. It sounded like someone whispering secrets inside a snow globe. I blinked. It's hauntingly lovely, he smiled. Thank you. It's played during forgiveness rituals. We kept going, song by song. I added a ridiculous 2000s pop song that made no sense lyrically. He added a sound recording of Xeraloxian whales flirting. I countered with a soft piano piece I'd listened to during our first road trip. He added a piece of atmospheric storm singing from the gas moons of Thelraxi. By track 10, we were both crying and laughing, sometimes in the same breath. What is this one? I asked as he played a bubbly, almost giggly-sounding piece. It's called Tail Sparks in the Quiet, he said, brushing my hair back gently. It's a courting tune. It's how we confess feelings without words. I stared at him. You're literally making me fall in love with you again through playlist curation. He grinned. That was the plan. I leaned into his shoulder. You're dangerously good at this. Only when I'm trying to win back my Earth pineapple. We finished the playlist close to midnight. It was the weirdest, most beautiful mess of sounds I'd ever heard. Like a love letter written in 3 languages and 1 sound effect app. As we sat there in the soft glow of our laptop screen, Xylo turned toward me and said, You know, I've been thinking. Dangerous, I teased. He ignored me. We're really good at fixing things, even when we mess up. Maybe that's a sign. A sign of what? He reached into the drawer beside the couch and pulled out a tiny box. I blinked. Oh no, are you proposing again? Because technically we're already married, and the last one involved a translator glitch, and you accidentally asked me to adopt a space goat. He opened the box. Inside was a pair of slim, matching earbuds. Half Earth tech, half Xeroloxian crystal resonance. These are called Unity pods, he said softly. They sync emotions through music. When we listen to the same song, we'll feel what the other person is feeling. I stared at them, touched beyond words. You made these? He nodded. So even if we're apart, if you're having a rough day and listen to track 7, I'll feel it. And if I listen to track 14, you'll feel how much I miss you. Tears filled my eyes. That's either the most romantic thing ever or the most dangerous tech since hover frying pans. Maybe both, he said, smiling gently. I took the earbuds, turned to the screen, and played track 7, Echoes of a Lonely Moon. His eyes shimmered immediately, glowing soft turquoise. You were really sad when you first made this, huh? I nodded, voice small. Yeah. He reached over, hit track 14, his favorite Meteor Bell lullaby, and suddenly I felt the warmest, softest kind of peace, like sunlight on water, like being held, even when you weren't. We sat there in silence, connected by sound, bound by glitches and forgiveness, and a deeply curated playlist full of second chances. I whispered, This is the weirdest marriage in the galaxy. He nodded, and I wouldn't trade it for all the unbroken vow treaties in the universe. Same, I said, but for the record, next time you share a password with someone, I will send another spoiler bomb. He grinned. Duly noted, Captain Passive Aggressive. And as we leaned into each other and hit shuffle, letting the weirdness and love swirl through those little earbuds, I realized something. In a world where betrayal can come in the form of a login screen and reconciliation can be a playlist made of starlight and lo-fi beats, love really is about learning each other's language, even if that language includes emotional Meteor Bells and Beyoncé. And this time, we were in sync, literally. For about 48 hours, everything was perfect. Our Trustfall playlist had become the new soundtrack of our relationship. We cooked with it, cuddled with it, even argued once while it was playing, but somehow track 14 always melted the tension before it became a full-blown cereal box throwing standoff. But nothing that perfect ever stays that way. It happened on a Saturday. Xylo had gone out for groceries and I was home alone, reorganizing our bookshelf and half-heartedly pretending I didn't know where that overdue interplanetary parking ticket had gone. I had the Unity pods in, playing track 6, my favorite bittersweet jazz fusion tune from a 1960s Earth Xeroloxian crossover band. Everything was mellow, peaceful, emotionally rich, until my phone buzzed. Once, twice, then exploded. Message from Chloe. Why is your playlist trending on the Intergalactic Love Network? Message from Zuri. Oh my God, girl, are you okay? That track 7 hit hard. I was in a spa pod and I cried into my starlight face mask. Message from Xylo. Something's wrong. Don't freak out. Actually, maybe do freak out. Just check the feed. I opened the app and froze. Trustfall, our shared, deeply personal, healing through glitch and forgiveness playlist, was now public. Not just public, but featured on the front page of the Intergalactic Love Network under the category Most Emotionally Vulnerable Couples of the Week, Playlist Edition. My face turned cold. My fingers fumbled. I clicked the first track. It auto-played, Echoes of a Lonely Moon, and beside it, a scrolling caption read, Track 7, Raw Heartbreak, Probably Betrayal. Human Vulnerability Score, 92%, then track 14 played, and the caption said, Healing, Forgiveness, possibly bonded mating. Below that, a comment section, thousands of them. For Space Softy, 82. I listened to this on my walk and called my ex. Thank you, Jess and Xylo. Haters Astro Witch Love Crystals. Track 4? That's the sound of growing up and letting go. I need therapy. Trunks of Jupiter Stan, 215. Wait, is this couple from Earth? This is the realest relationship I've seen since that asteroid wedding special. I gasped. They think we're a case study? Chloe FaceTimed me mid-freakout. Her face filled the screen, eyes wide, mouth stuffed with popcorn. You're famous. You're emotionally trending. I didn't even know that was a thing, I shouted over her. It was supposed to be private. Xylo burst through the door seconds later, arms full of glowing produce, looking horrified. I didn't authorize anything. I swear. The Unity pods were synced to my Xeraloxian memory cloud. It must have automatically uploaded our emotional data to the Global Empathy Archive for reflection backups. I blinked at him. You backed up our feelings? He dropped the fruit. Not on purpose. I held my head in both hands. Xylo, we're streaming our marriage. A new ping hit my phone. It was from Dr. Bot Love. Congratulations! Your playlist has reached Empathy Tier 4, eligible for nomination in the Emotional Excellence Awards. Do you accept the interview invitation? I screamed. Then silence. Then laughter. First Chloe, then Zuri via text, sobbing her marriage's content. Then even Xylo, who was now trying to pick space mangoes out of our shoe rack. Finally, I slumped onto the couch and muttered, This is it. We're officially a public emotional display. We're a Netflix original without a camera crew. Xylo sat beside me, gently taking the earbuds from my hand. Jess, we can shut it down. I'll desync the pods, wipe the cloud, build a firewall made of actual fire if I have to. I shook my head. No, it's okay. He blinked. It is. I sighed, staring at the glowing screen with thousands of strangers reacting to our most private sonic feelings. If I'm going to be emotionally exposed to the galaxy, at least it's with you. And hey, we're making people feel things. That has to count for something, right? He smiled. So you're not mad? I'm mad, I said, but also kind of proud and weirdly flattered. We sat in silence again, the gentle hum of the Unity pods softly vibrating between us. Then Xylo grinned mischievously. Should we make a sequel playlist? I blinked. You're impossible. He leaned closer. You love it. And I did. Even if our love had accidentally been turned into an interstellar case study in trust, healing, and unexpected jazz fusion. Still, one question lingered, because the comments section had started a poll. Do you think Jess will forgive Xylo for the feelings upload incident? The votes were coming in fast, and honestly, even I wasn't totally sure of the answer yet. The morning after our playlist went galactic, I woke up to find 3 alarming things in our inbox. A formal invitation to speak at the first annual Intergalactic Symposium on Emotional Transparency in Relationships. A limited edition hoodie design featuring our faces and the caption, Track 7 Hit Me Too, Bro. A cease and desist warning from the Council of Privacy Purists. I sat up in bed, groggy and confused. Xylo, what's the Council of Privacy Purists? Xylo, already wide awake and polishing his ceremonial noodle fork, don't ask, turned slowly, his face drained of color. Well, as much as glowing turquoise skin can be drained. Oh no, I narrowed my eyes. What? Oh no. He held up the cease and desist. They're intense. Think of them as a cross between a data security cult and a group of emotionally constipated librarians. I blinked. What do they want from us? He scanned the letter. Apparently, by uploading emotional metadata through the Unity pods, we've committed public empathic indecency. I stared at him. That's not even a real thing. It is to them. An alert popped up on the wall screen. A live broadcast. The channel COPP Central, Purity Protocol Live. A woman with a severe braid, glowing monocle, and terrifyingly symmetrical eyebrows stared straight into the camera. Fellow Galactic citizens, she began, we have reached a crisis point in the digital age. Empathic overexposure, relationship radiation, feelings without firewalls. Behind her appeared a projected graph showing a sudden spike in galactic crying fits and impulse poetry downloads, coinciding exactly with the release of Trustfall. This playlist has destabilized the emotional neutrality of 47 systems. The creators must be found, their bond recalibrated. I turned to Xylo. Are we villains? He winced. We're emotional influencers now. That's even worse. Suddenly the door buzzed. Chloe, she burst in, holding a tablet. Okay, first of all, how do I get one of those hoodies? Second, there are protests outside. We ran to the window. A small but determined group had gathered across the street. Some held signs that said, "Love is a private login." Others chanted, "No more streaming dreaming." And one very confused alien waved a poster reading, "Stop feelings, start firewalls." Zuri called moments later, her voice shaky with excitement. Jess, they tried to ban your playlist in 3 zones, but it's already been downloaded 6 million times. Also, 2 couples got married at a Trustfall-themed ceremony. With a DJ, I stared at her. Zuri, are we accidentally leading a movement? She squealed. Yes, and I love it. You're like the cosmic Bonnie and Clyde of code-sharing intimacy. Chloe leaned in. And the purists want to shut you down? That's the best kind of villain arc. We're in too deep now. We fight. I turned to Xylo. What do we do? He took my hand. We give them what they're afraid of. I blinked, which is, he smiled, more emotion. That night we went live. It was supposed to be just us, a live stream talking about our relationship, a soft, calm explanation of what Trustfall meant. But then Chloe joined. Then Zuri hacked in from her spa pod. Then Dr. Botlove somehow patched in with a pre-recorded speech titled, Why Feels Aren't Fatal. And then the numbers exploded, 12 million views, comments flying across the screen, people sending us their own shared playlists. A couple proposed mid-live stream in the comments. Someone confessed to using their ex's password just to listen to our track 9. We were a digital love revolution, but then the feed glitched. The screen froze, flickered, and transformed into a black void. A cold voice spoke. You were warned. The stream cut out. I turned to Xylo. Was that? He nodded grimly. The Council of Privacy Purists. They've activated a lockdown protocol. I whispered, What does that mean? Chloe answered before he could. It means they're coming, and they're going to try to wipe your emotional data from the universe. We stood in silence for a moment. Then I picked up the tablet. Then we better finish the playlist. Xylo raised an eyebrow. Finish it? I nodded. 12 tracks. Like 12 vows. We only have 11. He smiled slowly. And what's the 12th? I looked him straight in the eye. The one we write together. Because if they were going to come for us, for our feelings, our music, our messy, ridiculous love story, then we were going to make damn sure it ended on our own terms, with one last track and one last stand. The night the Council of Privacy Purists came for us, the galaxy was quiet, not silent, never truly silent when your husband hums in 6 frequencies while sleeping, but quiet in that strange, full way right before something happens. The air in our apartment shimmered slightly, like it knew the narrative was about to end, or shift. We had 1 track left, track 12. The Unity pods had synced. The playlist was already live. Millions of people across space had their earpieces in, their volume set to emotional max. And we, me, Xylo, Chloe, with 3 bowls of popcorn, and Zuri, still in a glitter face mask, stood in our tiny Earth living room, facing an imminent digital memory wipe. No pressure. Xylo took my hand. You ready? I looked at the blinking cursor on the screen next to the words, Track 12, unwritten. Then I nodded. Let's give them something worth deleting. We pressed record, and we spoke. No music, no meteor bells, no lo-fi beats or whale synth duets. Just our voices. Just us. To whoever's listening, I began, this was never supposed to be a movement. It started with a password, with a small misunderstanding that spiraled into tears, betrayal, Spotify scandals, space court, and a really weird emotional trend. Xylo stepped in, voice low, strong. But in every misunderstanding, there's a mirror. And in every mirror, there's a chance to see someone else more clearly. That's what love is. Not perfect understanding, but a willingness to learn each other's language, even if that language includes streaming platforms and emotionally dangerous playlists. I looked at him. You're really good at this. He grinned. I watched 3 rom-coms last night for research. We continued, alternating lines, voices overlapping like chords. We made this playlist out of hurt, but it became something beautiful. Because we chose to stay. Because we kept showing up, even when it was awkward, emotional, messy. Because forgiveness is a better chorus than silence. And because love deserves a soundtrack. At that moment, the lights in the room dimmed. Not manually, not dramatically, but like the universe itself was holding its breath. Then the council arrived. A sphere of shadow and blue light shimmered into view outside our window, tall, geometric, and very unfun. A dozen silhouettes floated inside, their hands raised, ready to purge our digital footprint with one thought. I stood taller. You want to erase us? Go ahead. But people already heard it. They felt it. And you can't delete what's already lived inside someone's chest. Silo stepped forward, glowing gently. You can wipe the data, but you can't unmake the melody. Chloe screamed from behind. Also, I backed it up on 6 drives and uploaded it to 17 meme pages, so good luck. Zuri added, and I submitted it to the Intergalactic Film Festival as a spoken word space opera. The council paused. One of them floated closer, slightly flickering. You would risk eternal emotional exposure? For each other? I looked at Xylo, then back. Yes. Silence. Then without warning, the leader smiled and bowed. You pass, they said simply. The test is not to hide love, it is to risk it. With that, the council vanished, just like that. Zuri blinked. Wait, was this whole thing a test? Chloe groaned. Ugh, space drama, always extra. I turned back to the screen. The cursor was still blinking. Then it stopped. Track 12, title locked. The password was love, and the playlist played on. Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one listening right now. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt betrayed over something small? A password? A playlist? A paused episode someone watched without you? Because maybe it wasn't small. Maybe it wasn't about the password. Maybe it was about feeling seen, remembered, respected. We tell ourselves love is a grand gesture, but sometimes it's just not skipping the intro, or asking before you press play, or listening, really listening, when the music gets weird. So tell us, what's your version of track 7? Comment below. Tell us your love language. And hey, maybe even share your weirdest breakup story. Because here on Alien Love Stories, we believe the strange ones are the best ones. This has been Trust Fall. Thank you for falling with us. We'll see you next episode, and don't forget, change your password, but keep your heart open.